You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. So excited, as normal, to be here with all of our listeners to just learn about some weird nature stuff.
I'm super stoked.
Yes, and it's good to see you guys as usual.
Well, this week's topic for me is one where I heard about like a cool story, but the details were a bit vague. So I went straight to the source, the journal article that this like popular reporting was based on. And I have to say, it wasn't
better
that it was also vague, but that it was so dense and full of technical jargon that was unfamiliar to me that I was like, it took some digesting because I wanted to really make sure I fully understood what was going on. So I started going down like deep rabbit holes that I was not expecting to explore.
Should.
Yeah, and it was so exhausting and confusing. I literally ended up falling asleep for 3 hours in the middle of the day.
Wow. You don't take naps much.
Oh my.
No, it was a little dry maybe. And as I was trying to like wrap my head around all of this and I'm like, what? I'm like, I finally figured it out. It was like my brain was so overloaded. It just needed a break to churn through the fire hose of new concepts I just drunk from. I think we all need to do that once in a while. I'm hoping to spare all of you that today with my distilled knowledge from all of those rabbit holes.
Thanks,
At the heart,
Kirk, for taking
you're
the
welcome.
time.
I appreciate it.
I took
so
the
much.
nap for you guys. At the heart of this new discovery that was published is something that was proposed to exist back in the 1970s, and I'm going to try to keep this as simple to understand as possible. Like I said, to make you all like avoid drinking from the same fire hose that I did. But back in the 1970s, new words were becoming much more common to hear. Those were words that had to do with computers and electronics. People were getting more familiar with things like resistors and capacitors and inductors. And I'm guessing most of our listeners have at least heard of these things, even if you don't have a solid understanding of what they do.
Right.
And some of our listeners
Not a
probably...
single clue.
Yeah.
But you've heard of them, yes, Rachel?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Yes.
I don't know what any of them do.
I know what a resistor does.
That is
beyond
also,
that,
maybe I know what that is.
That's one that, like, if you're of a certain age, like, where you, like, maybe in school, like, you played with some circuits and stuff, and maybe were familiar with some of these things. So, a guy named Leon Chua was studying these things and said essentially, hey, something's missing here. Like, these three things that we use in electronics all deal with the relationship between four things: voltage, current, charge, and magnetic flux. And it's okay if you don't fully understand what the difference is between all of those, but these three circuit components we have all deal with the relationship between two of those elements. For example, a resistor controls the relationship between voltage and current. An inductor controls the relationship between magnetic flux and current. A capacitor works because of the relationship between voltage and charge. And we use these things to make computers and electrical circuits because they allow us to control these relationships and use them to do work. And what Chua realized was that if these relationships are all symmetrical, then we're missing one.
Oh.
Like, there should be something that allows us to manipulate the relationship between magnetic flux and charge, but no such component existed or had been invented.
Okay.
And he named this
So there needs to be like, these are all running parallel to each other and we need somebody that's perpendicular?
Whenever you have four things, there's like four different ways you could group those things together.
Okay.
And if they're going to be sort of like kind of symmetrical and all work out nicely, he was positing that there should be a relationship that exists in nature between magnetic flux and the charge of something. So he was just kind of proposing like almost a fundamental force of nature that should exist. And
Okay.
the thing that could take advantage of this, he named the memristor, which is
Why?
Okay.
it's like I think because it's like a memory resistor is kind of the idea. But theoretically,
Okay.
this would be something that was able to remember past voltages or currents that had passed through it, which is pretty
Okay.
wild idea. If we could figure out
Yeah.
how to make one, we could use it for computer memory, which would be pretty cool, because it remembers its past states. And so people
Right.
set out to try to figure out how to make this new device that exploits a theoretical relationship between some of the fundamental forces of the universe. That's a pretty wild thing to take on, and like when scientists are successful, I think we take it for granted as being perhaps obvious. But they had to know like where to even start. And in this case, they weren't sure that making a device like this was even possible, or maybe like where do you even begin to make some sort of device that exploits a principle of the universe that you're not sure even exists. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty wild,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I have to pause here and say that there is still a huge debate about this. And there are camps that firmly believe that it is impossible for a memristor, it's very hard to say,
It does not roll off the
memristor.
tongue.
It's a
It does
terrible name.
not. I really go back to the drawing board on that.
I know, but there's a whole camp that firmly believes that they are impossible to even exist. They claim that for them to work, they would need to violate the basic laws of the universe. And for reasons way too complex to go into here, they basically argue that an actual perfect memristor, I hate that word so much, would basically amount to a free energy machine, which of course cannot exist. So they're like,
Right.
look, we've done the math. It doesn't work. They can't exist.
The math does not math.
Yeah. The problem is they do. We've
What?
made them.
Oh.
People have built them.
What?
We have memristors, and they work. And researchers are experimenting with them right now, even though some people claim they can't exist. So
But they're already here. I'm
What?
now you see why I had to read up on this so much. Like, how can they exist if they're impossible? And the reason is that this is a deeply nerdy debate about physics and semantics. Yes, we have things that behave the same way we believe these should behave, and we can make use of these components. The technical argument from some is that these devices aren't actually true memristors. They're essentially cheating and using other forces of nature to mimic the output of what a true pure memristor would do.
Okay.
So that purist camp apparently is really
There it
pissed at
is.
people calling these things by this name because they don't think they work the way people claim. Even though, in
Imposters.
fact, they do work. So it's like, it's pretty wild. But we can use these components for computer memory, and they are very efficient and they're very fast. So the debate is just over what to call them, I guess. And some purists feel that we should not call them memristors. I can't. This word is awful. I'm in that camp now, I guess, because I think it's a terrible name and we shouldn't use it.
I mean, I think they just need to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
Why that name?
I think, again, like a memory resistor, I guess. But
Look, this guy
You
was
can come up with anything.
I
a
know,
physicist
I
and
know.
electrical engineer. He probably, English and words was maybe not his strong suit. Just
right. Well,
Ugh.
I kind of love that we have something that works that people discovered because people thought it should be possible. And then once we figured it out, other people proved that it can't be done because it's mathematically impossible, yet we did it. Like, it basically means we somehow did the impossible, which
That
go
is
science.
yeah.
This is go science. So cool.
We do love that.
So all of that, you're going, okay, I guess fundamental forces of nature, of the universe, that's kind of nature. We sometimes
Sure.
cover things like that in the show.
Right.
But look, all of that is just a bit of prologue to the scientific
my
announcement
God, Kirk.
that was
God.
published in the journal PLOS One on October 10th of this year.
Okay.
The article was about making a new memristor that was called, and this article was called Sustainable Memristors from Shiitake Mycelium for High Frequency Bioelectronics.
Mushrooms.
I saw this.
Yes. So usually, memristors are expensive, take a lot of energy to run. They are made of expensive, rare materials. And so this team made one out of a mushroom.
It's so cool.
Yeah. This team of researchers grew shiitake mushrooms, basically because they're easy to source. They could get the spores and stuff. So it wasn't like they picked those because of their great qualities. They were like, we can order this kit online. They grew them, or at least grew the mycelium. Started to get the mycelium to grow in like essentially a petri dish. They then dried it out, and they kind of lightly wetted it, and they probed the existing mycelium that grew to find out if any of them could be used as a memristor. Did it have the right qualities they were looking for? And it turns out, yeah, they can.
Huh.
And to be clear, they didn't really do anything special to grow the mushroom in any kind of special way. They just grew them like normal and then tested if the naturally occurring mycelium, which to refresh people you can think of as kind of like the roots of the mushroom. It's imperfect analogy, but they essentially wanted to see like, if they stuck a few wires into those, like, would it work? And it seemed as though it did. They claimed that 95% of the time they could correctly retrieve the previous state of the memristor for like what kind of basically if a high or a lower current was sent through it. And that's how computer memory works, essentially, like retrieving previous states. And perhaps it isn't surprising that the system fungus uses for electrical signaling works for electrical signaling. But the memory effect is pretty fascinating. And it makes you wonder, does fungus have some sort of form of memory?
Wow. Or is every fungus a tiny little computer somehow?
I mean, it starts to raise some pretty interesting questions, right? And keep in mind that fungus are really wild because they're neither plant nor animal. They're actually somewhat in between the two. They're actually closer related to animals than they are to plants, which is just cool. And so why are they doing this? I guess the hope is that in the future, we could possibly grow components of computers instead of manufacturing them out of rare materials. They could be faster, more powerful, use less energy, and be completely biodegradable. That's the hope. And
I'm not sure I want my computer biodegrading.
Well, that is an issue, right? That's definitely an issue. But when you look, and I kind of looked into that online, I'm like, well, is that really practical? If you think about a lot of the devices we use, they're definitely have
not
a
made
short.
To last.
They're not. And I don't even mean that from like the standpoint of like, oh, this is a cheap disposable throwaway kind of thing. It's not necessarily even that. It's just that even some of these rare materials we use, a lot of some of the old CDs that were being burned are starting to be no longer readable. Some of the magnetic tapes, you go back and listen to an old tape and the sound quality is degraded because a lot of the things we use they don't last anyways, right? Yeah. So that may not be as much of an issue. And if you can have it biodegrade, that's a whole lot better than something clogging up a landfill. So there are people working on doing essentially bioelectronics, this whole idea of like growing our electronics. And I will point out too that memristors can be used for both memory and doing actual calculations. So they can potentially be very important, and a biological memristor is a fascinating possibility. They were not really using this to actually compute stuff. They were just seeing, can you retrieve the previous state? But they can be used for both of those things. So at this point, I will say this is all just theoretical, not quite theoretical, but it's kind of like fantasy. So a 95% success rate sounds pretty good. Like if you're just reading like
pretty good
pop sci article about this, it's actually terrible when you really stop to think about it, because that's a per retrieval statistic for one bit of memory. Okay. So they would test it again. Did we get the same value? And they only got the same value 95% of the time, which they're like, oh, isn't that great? Computers need to have insanely low error rates as they retrieve and process billions of bits of data. The mushroom currently has an error rate per read of 1 bit that is 100 times higher than what we would normally allow per hour of a computer running. And this is just reading 1 bit, like one, true false statement. And there are, billions of those going on in a computer.
Uh-huh.
So the error rate is way, way too high to be anything remotely usable at this point. Has to be
Right.
far more stable. This is also very slow compared to what we're used to. It was far too slow to be practical to be actually used in computing, even if the error rate was really great. Again, though, this was not something specially grown for this. This is like, they just sort of grew a mushroom and stuck some wires in it. So it's like, this is just sort of proof of concept. It's a baby step in this growing field of bioelectronics. It's just one team working on this. They weren't even the first ones to show this as possible. This just happens to be the latest team that kind of tested this out and showed it. There's been many other teams doing similar studies, and the hope is that some of these hurdles can be overcome as we learn more. Think about like where the state of electronics was, 50 years ago. Things have changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
And using fungus could be far better than some of the other bioelectronic approaches that have been tested so far that have seemed far more delicate and finicky, like living, like animal tissues that you're trying to keep alive in special liquids and stuff. And fungus don't need a lot of that. So people are like, ooh, this could be something. Where are we going to be in 50 years from now? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. There could someday be a fungus at the heart of your biocomputer, which would be pretty cool.
I want holograms.
Or maybe we'll never figure it out.
Where's my
that's what I
jetpack?
got for you this week.
That's so cool.
Sort of a computer fungus, or at least the proof of concept that, there's potential to keep looking.
Well, thank you, Kirk, for reading and digesting all that information.
I hope you found that interesting.
Definitely.
Woo! All right, we'll take a little break here, and when we come back, it'll be Rachel.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I am excited. So I kind of went on a little rabbit hole binge. Part of it is because I
You
think,
too?
Well, yeah. So some of it has to do with the fact I was sent these of friend of the show, my bestie Amanda, but also it ended up being a deep dive about radiation, and I'm so sorry.
You're really radioactive girl here lately.
I know. They felt too interconnected to not bring up.
Put them back to back, yeah.
Yeah. So I not even interconnected, but I was like, well, 2 episodes about radiation, I might as well. Feels like
all
that.
in.
Exactly.
I don't know if I want to be all in the radiation, but I'll stand at the side and listen.
You'll listen? Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's all we ask for.
Yeah. So I'll ask of all of our listeners. That's why we call them the listeners.
Oh, fancy. All right. So we're going to go not as far back in time as we did last week, but we are going to a nuclear bunker. Okay.
Okay.
In Western Poland. I should say it's an abandoned nuclear bunker. All right.
Okay.
It was used by the Soviet Union to store nuclear weapons. So there is a slight connection to last week. There you go.
Okay.
Now, there were some researchers over in Poland, and they happened upon something kind of interesting. So in this nuclear bunker, what happened was there happened to be a colony of ants. So these wood ants, okay? This main
Ants are
colony,
everywhere.
Ants are absolutely everywhere. Oh, sweet doggy. So they're absolutely everywhere.
Sweet doggy.
I don't know. Some days.
I just want a t-shirt with Rachel's face on it that says, "Oh, sweet doggy."
But yeah. Anyway, so they were exploring around, and I don't know what exactly they were looking for. I'm pretty sure that they were these researchers were looking for maybe some ants or whatever, but they end up finding this, and as scientists are wont to do, they're like, huh, well, this is interesting. Let's
Okay.
sit here and take a look. Because they found this giant anthill of
Okay.
Formica polycineta, the wood ants. And
Right.
most of them seem to be above and near the nuclear bunker, okay? And the main colony was working and doing just fine.
Oh, so this is above ground essentially. They're not
This-
down in the bunker.
Well, we'll get to that.
I mean the initial ones they found.
The
you're
initial
talking
ones they found were not necessarily in the bunker, no.
Okay.
So there was a mound on top of the bunker's ventilation pipe.
Okay.
Okay. And this mound, as you would expect, because it's a ventilation pipe for a nuclear bunker, historically,
Right.
those are underground.
Yes.
So in 2016, these scientists had come out and they found hundreds of thousands of worker ants that fell inside down in the bunker.
Oh,
Oh,
sure.
okay.
So they had a colony on the ventilation shaft, but a lot of them are falling down inside.
They kept falling through the pipe and into the
Gotcha.
bunker.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like they landed on the floor because the pipe opened up in the ceiling of the bunker. So the ants would get down there and they wouldn't be able to get back out.
Right.
So they
Makes
are
sense.
trapped. And it's a nuclear bunker. So there's no food for them necessarily in
Right.
the bunker. So these scientists are watching these ants. They see them falling into this bunker and they're like, I wonder what's going on.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
that's
I wonder how, because there's
That's how it
definitely
starts.
ants that are, surviving. So they can't exit. There's not a bunch of dead ants down there.
what are the oh, so
What-
they went down and there's not dead ants at the bottom?
They didn't really find any.
Okay.
So their
Okay.
hypothesis was that the ants were surviving by cannibalizing their dead comrades.
That was my first thought, yeah.
Oh.
So they were like, it was something completely different from what they were looking for, right? So they estimated the population of that bunker side to be at least several 100,000 ants, workers that were in the bunker. And
Oh my
on top
gosh.
of the bunker, it was definitely more than 1 million ants. So this is
Ugh,
lots of
it's a
them.
big colony.
It's a huge colony. So they're like, well, how are they able to survive? They weren't sure. So there was no like cocoons or larvae or queens or anything. So they definitely couldn't be breeding.
Uh-huh.
So they were looking for research or for like, they were trying to find out, like, they ended up going back and observing this colony being like, are they eating each other? Like, what's going on? And they really were just surviving, and they were continuing all of those general tasks that they know that ants normally do. They just also happened to they also just happened to be like in an extreme environment. There wasn't a queen or anything, so they had no choice. And the goal of all ants is to return back to the main colony, right?
Sure, but
So-
they can't find it.
Exactly. So their study that they had, which was the study, which I will quote right now, it is Living Beyond the Limits of Survival, Wood Ants Trapped in a Gigantic Pitfall, which was published in August of 2016 in the Journal of Hymenoptera, an open source journal, which we absolutely love.
Yay.
Yay!
Yay.
So, so what ended up happening in the total darkness, they constructed a mound which they maintained and molded But
researchers or the ants?
the ants.
Okay, just checking.
The ants. That's a good question. So the ants were maintaining this mound and doing everything that they were supposed to, but there's no food. So any ants that died were compensated, or like any ants that died ended up being food. And then new ants are continually dropping in. So there's always like a fresh batch of workers coming down, right? So
Bizarre.
It was bizarre. And they were just like, I don't even know what to do. So pretty much what ended up happening is the scientists were absolutely fascinated. So they collected a bunch of dead ants from the cemeteries, because ants, believe it or not, do have cemeteries. They move their dead kin to a particular space outside of the mound. Partially because you don't know what those ants died from, so they call those ant cemeteries, ant graveyards. And they were piles of little dead ants in the floor, the walls, all of that. And they had gnaw marks on a vast majority of those had gnaw marks. Like 93% of the dead ants showed signs of being eaten. Yeah. And it's not necessarily uncommon in wood ants. They're often, we at work definitely see, Kirk, you and I see the sidewalk wars that happen, right?
From
the
pavement
brown
ants,
for pavement ants. It's the same kind of thing. Wood ants will absolutely, wage ant wars, against other ant species, looking for the best spots for food and things like that. So
Cannibalistic nuclear bunker ants.
Pretty much is what's happening. So it just was a never ending. They were eating and doing whatever they could to survive. I do have a happy ending for all of us.
Oh.
Okay. Is it a happy ending for the ants?
Yes. Because the scientists, after seeing how they were surviving and what all was going on, also wondered if they could help them. So
did it involve a piece of string?
It involved a little wooden beam, and they stuck a wooden boardwalk, a little wooden beam from the floor to the entrance of the pipe, and they left it there, and the ants did walk up that wooden beam and return to the main colony. It looks like two little planks of wood just patched together. And they did return in a year later in 2017, and they found that most of the ants
had destroyed the entire
escaped.
ant society.
the cannibalistic one, yeah. So it was almost deserted down there, and they finally were able to reunite with the colony that was above ground. So a really cute little story, even though the title is very sensationalized, because it's nuclear bunker cannibal ants.
Yes.
Freed from bunker. Is pretty much what was going around. I'm like,
the nuclear
sorry,
bunker ants are on the loose now in Poland.
Pretty much.
Don't go to Poland.
No. So yeah, they ended up they checked on them and stuff, and it ended up being a really interesting little story. Not necessarily the strangest thing, but kind of cool. Story of survival once more.
Wow.
Yeah. So
nature finds a way.
Nature does find a way. So that's what I have for you all this week. Live Science had a really, my sources are Live Science. They had a great article, Thousands of Ants Trapped in Polish Nuclear Bunker Turn to Cannibalism to Survive. That was published in 2019. I would like to say that the byline was, or the little subtitle is, "It's an ant eat ant world." Truly, good job. Good job, Mindy.
Boy.
Good job, Mindy. Loved that. Atlas Obscura also had a great article, as well as the article itself, which I quoted in the quoted while I was talking. But again, living beyond the limits of survival, wood ants trapped in a gigantic pitfall. in the Journal of Hybenoptera Research. I'm not even going to try to do these very, very Polish names.
It's fine. You can just give the
please
name of the
look it up.
journal.
Yep, that is as best we're going to try.
So many
that would be
consonants.
worse. There's W's and Z's.
Our listeners
and...
don't really want to hear us list off 10 names anyways. They've already stopped the show and gone on to something else at that point.
Ooh, yeah. Anyway, so that's what I have for you all this week. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, Victoria.
All right, we're back. I get the
Yay.
third and final segment this week.
I'm excited.
I'm going to start off talking about a bat.
Nice.
I love bat.
So the greater noctule bat is a large bat that lives in Eastern and Southern Europe. It's actually the largest bat in Europe. It has a wingspan of like 41 to 46 centimeters, which is 16 to 18 inches. So
Ooh,
Whoa.
pretty
that's
large.
big.
Their body mass is like 41 to 75 grams, or about 1.5 to 2.5 ounces.
that's really
Okay.
light for such a
Yeah.
big animal. That's wild.
I
Well,
mean,
I
they
suppose
have to
that's
be.
why they can
They're
fly,
gonna be
right? But-
Flying, yeah.
Yeah.
They are, your typical, other than that, they're kind of your typical bat in that they use echolocation. They roost in forest trees. And,
Okay.
they're from a temperate area. So most temperate bats eat what?
Insects.
Bugs.
Insects. Yeah, exactly.
But doesn't, or especially flying insects, but like, does Europe have as many flying insects as North America?
I don't know. They have insects.
They got plenty.
Well, I know they have insects. I was just curious because I know famously they don't really have like screens on their windows.
Yeah, not as many mosquitoes as us,
Ah,
maybe. But,
Okay. Continue.
So yeah, most like temperate bats are going to be your insect-eating bats, and then if you go to the tropics, you also get bats that are eating fruit and nectar, and of course,
Yep.
the famous vampire bat.
Blood. Whoa.
There are a few outliers, like the fringe-lipped bat of Central America, which sometimes hunts frogs, lizards, and other small
wild.
animals. And the spectral bat, which is also lives in Central and South America, that
Great name.
sometimes drops down on perching birds to take them.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's so fun. Not for the birds.
But
nothing.
until recently, no bat had been proved to be able to take birds on the wing.
Ooh.
Wait,
Until now.
I feel like I saw this, which
You might
is
have.
so cool.
This is ripped
I love
from
this.
the recent headlines. Yes, so the greater nocturnal bat had long been suspected or really known to be a bird eater based on indirect evidence. So there's this researcher, Dr. Carlos Ibanez of the Doñana Biological Research Station that's in Seville, Spain. And he had been researching these bats for decades. And he'd found feather in their droppings and like done DNA analysis of the droppings and
Sure.
found bird DNA and all this stuff. But nothing had been directly observed. And the original hypothesis was that, kind of similar to the tropical bat I was describing earlier, that the greater nocturnal bat would attack roosting birds that were sitting in trees, at night.
Right.
Because that seems like it would be easier, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it absolutely makes it. It feels a lot easier to do that.
Yep.
And they tried all kinds of different stuff to try to catch bats in the act. They used military-grade radar. They sent up recording instruments and balloons. Nothing. Not getting anything. Well,
I love it so much. I love trying so hard and then we can't find it. The bats
Yeah.
are fooling you.
like they know it's happening, but we can't see it. So modern technology comes to the rescue. They teamed up with Laura Stidsholt, who's at the University of Aarhus in Denmark. And she was able to hook them up with some very lightweight sensors, 4 grams only,
Whoa.
that
Nice.
attach to the bats' backs, like a little backpack.
Fun.
And these sensors record audio, altitude, and acceleration.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they put these backpacks on 17 bats in the spring of 2023. And after several evenings, bats going out, coming back, catching lots of insects, but nothing with birds.
Mhm.
Finally, a bat returned to the roost with a jackpot of data. They got the recording, the data from this little sensor, and the audio recorded flapping sounds, the distress call of a bird, and then
Uh-huh.
chewing.
Oh,
Fun.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that sound.
I mean, to be
Oh,
fair,
boy.
I listened to the recording. There was a little a sort of videographic thing that they had. And like, I'm sure if you're a bat researcher who's doing this, you can tell that it's chewing. To me, it just sounded like a lot of static.
right. That's probably
Fair.
for the best.
Yes. So they lined up the audio data with the acceleration and the altitude data.
Yeah. Oh,
And they were
cool.
able to create this picture almost of a high altitude dogfight between
What?
the bat and the bird. Yes. So these
Amazing.
bats,
Phenomenal.
So
these-
it was chasing it down. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So the bats actually go up super high. They climb to about 1,200 meters in altitude, which is about 4,000 feet.
Whoa.
And
Okay.
then use their sonar, which also was picked up in the recording. Like the audio was able to record
Yeah.
sonar.
Okay.
To locate flocks of birds flying below them. These are migrating birds.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then the bat zeroes in on one particular bird and then drops down on it, chases it. The bird starts performing evasive
Oh my God.
maneuvers. These are like
Migration
World War
is
II fighter pilots,
terrifying.
basically. And then the bat catches the bird and is sort of grappling with it as they plunge down precipitously several hundred meters down to
Okay.
about 200 meters up, where the bat finally kills the bird with a strong bite, perhaps to the back of the head or the neck. And then the bat continued to fly for another 23 minutes while chewing.
What?
See, that's
While chewing?
that's
Yes.
so fascinating because when you started
Was
your
it
story, you talked about how big this animal was, and from bird banding research that I'm doing, when you said how much it weighed, I'm like, okay, that's about the weight of a white-breasted nuthatch, but their wings are way bigger than a
Yep.
bird would have, and so I was like, why would such a small animal need such big wings? But this seems to answer that question,
Yes.
right?
I think it might.
We'll get to
Well,
that.
also, is it holding on to the bird while and chewing while it is still flying for
Yes.
23 minutes? Oh my God, go sit down.
Right? We'll get
Sit
to
down, eat your food while at the table. What are you doing?
Someone else might steal it then.
Ugh.
I'll get to your point
Fair.
momentarily, Kirk, but
Okay.
just as one other thing, the researchers also found bird wings discarded on the ground, leading them to hypothesize that the bats remove the wings from the bird
Yeah.
as they're flying along to reduce drag. 'Cause you can imagine if you're
mean-
trying
And
to
there's not
the
really
wings
a
sort of
lot much
flapping out.
nutrition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, which means that is this bird still alive?
Who knows?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Probably easier to do it after the bird's dead, I would imagine.
I would think so. Yeah. You
Yeah, don't
probably
think about it too much.
a couple bites to the neck takes care of that. So
Yeah. By the distress call, they were able to identify this bird as a European robin, which is a small songbird.
Oh, it's so those are the ones that we all are like, oh, we wish our robins looked like that.
Hey, now our robins are perfectly
I
fine.
I like our robins. They're
don't
fine.
make fun of Turdus americanus.
Turdus americanus.
It's quite a common name, yeah. They're not even robins, they're thrushes.
Yeah,
Come
they're
on,
thrushes.
Exactly. That is mostly my point.
They were named robins because they have similar coloration to the European robin, and that is the only reason
terrible.
they have that name.
Ugh.
But European robins are much smaller than American robins. They only weigh about 20 grams. So they're like a third to a half of the weight of the bat. So using like a 150-pound person, like that's about 68 kilograms, as a point of comparison, imagine catching an animal the size of a Labrador retriever in midair and then continuing to fly while simultaneously holding onto and eating the carcass.
Oh my God. No, let's not.
So
Labrador?
Yeah. Well, I needed to find an animal that was about the right weight in comparison.
I understand, but I'm like trying to picture like I used to have a lab mix, and I'm just like, there's no way. No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So those very large wings are providing them with a considerable amount of lift.
Yeah.
Yes, so the birds, I briefly mentioned this, the birds that these bats are hunting are migrating songbirds, it seems. And this is unusual because currently scientists believe that there are not that many predators that have been able to exploit migrating songbirds as a food source. They mostly migrate at night for this very reason.
Right, yeah.
Birds like peregrine falcons can hunt at high altitude similarly, but only during the day. They rely on sight to hunt. And owls don't typically fly up that high. And they're more, they're not pursuit predators usually in the same way.
Wow.
Right.
There are still several things we don't know about this whole situation. We don't know what the success rate of the bats is. So there was this one recording of a successful capture, and then there was one recording of an unsuccessful capture, and the rest of it was the bats catching insects. So, but it's a small sample size. It's pretty laborious process, I imagine, to get these backpacks on and off the bats and like get the data and all that stuff. So, we don't know how much they rely on birds for a source of food. Like, how often are they trying to do this? It seems there's probably considerably more energy spent tracking and hunting down a bird than a bunch of insects.
Yeah, I could see it maybe like only paying off during migration when the flocks are big enough, and it's an opportunistic thing when the food is there.
Yeah.
But wow.
Obviously, the number of calories in a bird is a lot higher than an insect.
You're done for the night there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like a fascinating little glimpse into a world of nighttime ecological interactions that we actually know very little about.
Oh, now I want to know if there's like bats that do the same thing in other places, like
probably,
here,
probably. We just don't know.
Oh,
because we haven't
more
looked.
to learn. More to learn. I love it.
I mean, bats aren't necessarily the most studied thing in the first place, but like, I wonder too, like I know that flying foxes over in like the Philippines and stuff, they are frugivores, so they mostly eat like fruit and things, but I wonder if anything of similar size or anything would eat birds.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of animals eat other animals that you wouldn't expect if given the opportunity, like deer.
Yep. Yes, it's interesting. I've watched a deer eat a bird right off the ground.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Chickens will eviscerate a mouse.
Yeah. Well, chickens are omnivores, so that's not that surprising.
Yeah.
Chickens are dinosaurs.
Chickens are dinosaurs.
They remember being dinosaurs.
They do.
They of all the birds, they're the ones that have the generational memory of like, I remember being a dinosaur.
I don't know. I feel like cassowaries might be even more.
I could see cassowaries,
but we do grind chickens up into dino-shaped nuggets, so it all comes full circle. That's when you eat one of those. That really is what a dinosaur tastes like.
Exactly.
Because you're eating a dinosaur.
You're eating a dinosaur. Yes, you are.
Well,
All right.
that was fun.
Yep. So my sources, the paper that came out about this is called Greater Nocturnal Bats Prey on and Consume Passerines in Flight. It's from October 9th in Science. I was not able to read the full thing, unfortunately, behind a paywall. There's a New York Times article by Douglas Main about it, also published on October 9th. And another helpful article from Ars Technica from 24th of October, 2025. And then a little background information from Wikipedia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria.
You are
Thank you.
welcome. That wraps up our show this week.
That's it.
And-
How exciting.
We took you
I
on
can't believe it.
a journey from
What a wild journey it's been today.
memristors to
Don't
bats
make me say that
catching
word
birds
again.
in midair.
Oh,
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a
I
good
have
night.
nightmares about that word. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.